The Grappling Hour is brought to you by No Gi BJJ Gear. Use the promotional code GrapplingHour15 to save 15% off of whatever you put in your cart. And Dodgy Collective. Dodgy Collective, creating jiu-jitsu gear for those who love to train after a hard day's work and for those who live the jiu-jitsu lifestyle from their mom's couch. That's actually what it says. I'm reading it verbatim. Anyway, go buy from them. Hey, what's up, everybody? It is your good friend, Rafa Esparza. It's a great day for grappling, and let's start with this. First, let's give some love to our friends over at NoGiBJJGear.com. They give us the promotion. They give us the money. So this is me saying the things that give us more money. And if you guys like us and you want to see us continue to make these shows, then you should go encourage them as well. You can go over to NoGiBJJGear.com and use the promotional code GrapplingHour15 to save 15% off of whatever you put in your cart. Also, give some love to our friends over at Dodgy Collective. They make some dope gear. They have amazing artwork. They are amazing human beings. We love if you support both of those folks. All right, on to our guest today. This young man and I once did an interview, and he was maybe about my height, maybe just like a little shorter than me. And now that I don't think that's the case. I think he is much taller than me now. His jiu-jitsu is severely better than mine now. But I've been so impressed with the way this young man carries himself. He's been quietly getting himself better at both wrestling, doing that continuously. He has been a savage on the mats. Everybody who speaks about him knows him and loves what he does. And I am so happy that we get to catch up with him today, because I hope you saw this. I hope it's out already. It better be out. If it's not, then we're breaking embargo, but who gives a shit at this point? He won the qualifier at 10th Planet last week for the chance to go ahead and compete at the Combat Jiu Jitsu Worlds happening on November 29th. Let's say that's it. And he will be competing in that big tournament representing the 10P flag. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the very first time on this show. One, Derrick Rayfield. Derrick, how you doing, sir?
About time I'm here. I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I was like, don't do that to me, kid. I was like, the beautiful part about what you do is that you're competing a lot, but you're very much a person I hear about from other savages or other great people who I have a great deal of admiration for. And when they talk about your game and the leaps and the bounds that it has made, it reminds me just of how long we've seen you in the public eye competing. So do you ever look back at how young you were and kind of laugh? Because, dude, you grew up very quickly in front of our eyes.
Yeah, I mean, I've been training for 11 years, and I feel like I'm just now kind of starting to get like momentum in like big jiu-jitsu scenes. I'm just now starting to get onto like combat jiu-jitsu worlds. So I feel like these high-level black belts, I have that kind of, not that I'm saying I'm a high-level black belt. I'm not. I'm a shitty brown belt. But like I have those like same types of experiences. If you get what I'm saying, like I've been to the EBIs, like I've seen the whole progression as well. So you've been developed by very good people, and they've made me a lot better. And it does feel good to like look back and be like, I'm so much better than I was.
I mean, obviously, I wish I could say that, but I think the thing with you that I very much appreciate is that you and I are just occasionally around each other. So we don't really even train or like see each other that much, but we're always in the same position. And for me, even though I don't see you a ton, when I do see you, I see how hard you're working. I hear about it from people like Casey and all these people who have always sung your praises. So even though I didn't always see you in the gym, I knew you were up to some shit. And I knew you were getting better. So let's figure this out. How old are you now?
I'm 19 years old.
19 years old. Okay. The reason I ask is because most 19-year-olds do not already have the experience of being on EBI, let alone a combat jiu-jitsu match, which, by the way, you took on my friend, Mike Flatch, and that was a pretty epic performance in your own right, man.
Yeah, Mike Flock's a good guy. I was talking to him before and after the match. He's, I really like the guy. He's super, super sweet, super technical in jiu-jitsu. It was just a good day for me.
It was. And I mean, it's a tough one, man, because I just remembered talking with him. I think it was before or after. And I was just like, dude, that's a tough draw, man, because he's young, but his jiu-jitsu isn't young. So there's the propensity to be like, am I slapping this kid? I have to, or he's going to murk me. And, your finish on that match, it showed a brilliant composure. You had a very steady way in which you were doing it. So my congratulations to you, man, on that. And again, getting that experience from EBI, which was our first interview together. So let's talk a little bit about this 10th Planet qualifier. So you guys aren't slapping each other at this qualifier, correct?
No, all the qualifiers are just strictly jiu-jitsu. I don't think anyone's 10th Planet guys, having beef with one another, like, oh, you slapped me too hard. Yeah, it's just jiu-jitsu.
All right. I just want people to know that ahead of time, because I do think it's kind of dope that there are trials that we do get to see from your system, because we don't see that with anybody else. We see it with 10th Planet, and I think that's pretty dope. So I want you to walk me through the day and the competition that you had to go through in order to win that day.
Yeah. So basically how it went down is I drew a pretty bad draw first round, to be honest. I had Keith Krikorian. Going into the trial, Keith Krikorian for me was like, oh, that's the guy to beat, meet him in the final, meet him in the semis, but I got him round one. I didn't appreciate that at all. I was like, damn, Scott Ross, you couldn't move around the bracket at all. And he's like, no, you got to go against Keith. So it was a match where it was only a minute and something like 2 minutes. It wasn't very long. But it's not like I was drastically better. It's not like that was the reason it was that short. It was just he made a simple mistake at the very beginning. He pulled guard. I was able to get like a jumping guillotine. He just overextended his neck a little bit. And in high levels of competition, that's all you need to have that little domino effect of, well, now he's in mount. Oh, now he has the arm triangle. Now he has the back. Now he's finished. You know what I mean? So in my opinion, it was the two best guys going against each other round one. And it's super unfortunate for Keith that that's how that went. Like I said, I was just able to capitalize on a quick mistake and get the finish there with the head and arm choke.
Let's stay on that real quick. I know Keith is a savage. We don't need to establish that. He's an amazing competitor in his own right. And as you mentioned, and very humble of you to mention in the respect that, yeah, he made a tactical error and you were able to capitalize on that day. How often have you trained with Keith in the past?
I've trained with him probably 2 or 3 times. I went against him at a Naga when I was like 16. Sorry. Trained with him at a Naga when I was like 16. Trained with him at a Naga. Competed against him at a Naga. And he ended up heel hooking me. So I was like, yeah, I got that. I got that back. But yeah, I don't like. He's usually like a San Diego guy. I was in Vegas. Occasionally went to Fullerton, those Costa Mesa, those gyms. But me and him never really crossed path. It was just, we'd see each other at Naga. 10th Planet guys are friendly with other 10th Planet guys. Like everyone in the system, so well, friendly to each other, knows each other, and I think that's one of the strengths of the system. So not super often, but he's my friend. Like I would consider him one of mine.
And I would say a couple of that instances seem to happen on this particular day. But I knew at first, as you mentioned, Keith is a very tough draw. And did you have the experience before help you in that match? Did you have a certain idea? Or did you just go into it a little bit more like, okay, I know Keith likes to go this? Because what was, I guess, the motivator between starting off with that guillotine that led you to that?
Well, the only thing that I was watching out for is, like I said, at the Naga, he heel hooked me. So I was like, don't get heel hooked. That's all. If I don't get heel hooked, I'm fine. Not that I'm fine, but like that's what I'm worried about. But usually in my matches, like I'm kind of weird for this, I think, but I don't like to strategize based on what they do. I like to just worry about me. I'm the only one who matters in my training. So as long as I perform good, it doesn't matter what they do. like, sure, he has a good heel hook, watch out for that, but I don't like to make all these elaborate plans and stuff like that for like strategizing.
Makes sense. And again, I guess the reason why I asked that, because I haven't seen it yet. I'm just hearing the second nature. So I'm just trying to visualize it. And
I haven't seen it either. Just all memory. It could have been a 5-minute match. I have no idea.
The reason why it's so impressive to me is because, you know, sometimes you can watch a competitor and you can kind of get a vibe of how they're going. But when you get that guillotine, you know, sometimes it happens by surprise. Sometimes you workshop that a lot. Is that something that you've developed over time, or was that just something in the moment you were like, oh, I get this action reaction and I'm going to go with it?
Yeah, it was, it's not something I train like consistently, but it's something like I have in my pocket, and I saw that it was there, you know? So, it's not my best pass or anything, but it's something that I have in my toolkit, and I just saw an opportunity to use it.
I dig. And especially considering I think that has to be something that most people have to hate, which is somebody who wrestles who's got a good guillotine too. I want to be like, you can't have both, dude. You got to pick one of them. Listen, I use my guillotine as a nice defensive mechanism. And when I see one of those wrestlers who can kind of defend a guillotine or has a good one on their own, I always think it's like when the Jurassic Park velociraptors are looking at each other and can talk. And I go, shit, they can talk now. No, they know all of our tricks too.
This shit.
Yeah, it's like you're not supposed to do this. So obviously, respect. We love Keith. Glad you guys have that out in the first round. What happens in the next round, man?
The next round, I go against Anthony. I'm not going to be able to pronounce his last name. Anthony Almero or something like that.
Okay.
I apologize to him. I'm not exactly sure how you say your last name. But a San Mateo guy, one of Alan Sanchez's brown belts.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a tough match. Like round one, I had to get it in my head. Like that was my toughest opponent, I think. That was not going to be my toughest match. You know what I mean? So, and it was proved in the next round when I got Anthony. That match, I'm not exactly like it's like I said, I haven't seen it. I'm just going off of memory. I got a pretty nasty blast double against him. I passed his guard, went to side control, got him mount, put him in a very similar situation I put Keith in. But this guy like saw it, you know, he was ready for the head and arm. And we stayed there for probably 7 minutes. I could be exaggerating. Like I said, I haven't seen it, but it felt of like a very long time. I had him in mount and I just could not finish with the head and arm at all. He ended up escaping and I was like, okay, this is going to OT. There's no, you know, so the last 3 minutes were essentially just us like tipping our toes in the water, you know, seeing if we maybe can get like a sneaky heel hook, but both of us kind of understood that this is going to overtime. Almost broke my nose, actually. He went for a rolling Kimura and like popped my face off. I started bleeding.
No.
Yeah, dude, like for 4 hours, it just would not stop bleeding. The entire rest of the tournament, you see me with a little like piece of toilet paper in my nose. Yeah, so that kind of sucked. But overtime happens. I picked the armbar position first. Ended up getting him with like a straight arm lock, fully extended. It's over. I have it. And then he slips out, and it's terrible. It's like a scene from like Indiana Jones. The treasure's right there, and I just couldn't get it. He ends up having a really good back control system, which I should have been prepared for because I knew he was an Alan Sanchez guy. I couldn't get out that first round. Round two happens. I get him with another fully extended armbar. I had it for so long, and I was like, I'm not going to be nice with this. Like this is competition. I'm gonna, you know, pull hard, and it was fully extended. My hips were fully in. I don't know why I couldn't finish it. I couldn't do it. Michael Plaster was talking to me after, and I was like, yeah, at the end of the day, he was a man, and I was just a little boy there. Like I just could not finish that armbar for the life of me. Like everything I thought was technically perfect, but I couldn't. Like he just man muscled out of it. I don't know what to say about it.
It happens, man. I've had many people dead to rights in an armbar, and sometimes I get that look of like, what's happening? Why is this not ending? I want this to end. So if you could just have it, would make both of us feel better. And then you know, I'll check in with them after, and I'll be like, "Are you okay?" And they go, "Yeah, I'm fine." And then I see them kind of like nursing, and I go, "I don't think you're okay. I think you did take some damage, and I think everyone's lying to me." So okay,
be fine, but
right. Like, granted,
well,
you got out of it, so okay, good for you, bro. But what a cost, man.
yeah. And that was a point in the match where I kind of like mentally broke a little bit, like where I was just like, fuck, I can't. How do I get a fully extended armbar and not finish? And my coach, Mike Wilson, was just like, hey, Derrick, just compose. And you just see me like, okay, I have to finish this match. He takes the back again. I escaped pretty fast. And that third round was a big decision because I probably had a minute 30 each armbar. He rode me out for an entire 2 minutes and then had like probably a minute in that second back control. So it was like, damn, like, do I want to go for the armbar again? Like, I can fully extend it. I just don't know if I can finish, or do I just want to like try and take the back and try and win on time? And so in that moment, I chose like, I'll just take the back. I think we're pretty close on time. I'm pretty confident that I can hold him. And there was some controversy in that third round because there was a point where he slipped out. I had a head and arm. He slipped out, and I was able to transition to the other side. But there was a second where he was escaped. Scott Ross goes, time. And I go, no, I have the head and arm. And Scott Ross goes, okay, keep going. And so there's a little bit of controversy there. I'm not sure if that was the right call. At the end of the day, we're competitors. My job is to keep competing. So, he yells time. I have the head and arm. I'm going to argue it. He says keep going. I'm going to keep going.
Well, then if he makes the decision to keep it going, what are you supposed to do?
Yeah.
Let it go?
Well, yeah, like I'm not going to let go of that at that point. Our jobs as competitors are to just keep going.
Well, the other thing to keep in mind as well is Scott Ross has been around this forever. He's run it multiple times, so he has a pretty good track record. And if he did mess up, he's probably one of the first people with his integrity to like own up to it and say like, "Yeah, that did not go well."
Yeah. I haven't seen the video yet, but I think either way he called it probably was the right call. Okay. You know what I mean? If he would have said time and I would have been like, no, I still have it. And he said, no, I already said it. I think that's correct. But the way it happened, I think is also correct. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
you can't really blame Scott Ross for that.
Well, you're a better person than I, because I would have 1,000,000% cheated in that situation. I would have been like, what are you talking about? Be like, I would have had my whole crew, like especially Mike Wilson of all people. He would have backed me up on this. I know he's just as schemy as I am, so he would have been like, "Dude, Raph had that the whole time, man. According to my eyes."
Yeah. So we keep going. He kind of went limp a little bit. I think he thought it was over. And as soon as Scott Ross said no, keep going, I jumped on it. I went 1,000%. So he eventually ended up escaping, but I added an extra 30 seconds, 40 seconds. And it was close on time. The time was super close. So that 30 seconds is the difference between a match, He takes my back. I escape relatively quick. So I definitely won that third round, but the problem was he had the time advantage going into it. And so it was just a nervous thing where it's like, damn, did I do it fast enough? And then ended up winning by like 5 seconds, I think it was.
Wow.
So it was a close match for sure. A ton of respect for Anthony. Super tough guy. Super technical, super good. San Mateo's got some tough guys.
Absolutely. They've been producing some good folks, and I've been keeping an eye on them competing, because obviously whenever you see Alan doing competitions, he brings usually a couple guys with him. And so I just always look at them and I go, well, you're training with him, so you're probably pretty good too. So I wonder what you're up to.
Iron sharpens iron, and you got a fucking Excalibur over there, So you're going to be pretty good.
Well, speaking of people who suck, let's talk about Mike John, because he's the person that you face in the finals.
Go back to me, guys who suck. Okay. So Mike John, guys who suck. That's so rude.
I mean, if you get to know him, what's really dumb about him? There are many things, but Mike John is now selling a shirt or a rash guard that says, fuck Mike John. And I said to him, are you sending money to Craig Jones for this? Like, are you sending him residuals? And he goes, oh, yeah, I should send him one too. And I was like, no, that fool wants your money, fool. Like, you're just taking his bid.
His brand.
So let's talk about that final match, because when I saw you guys in the photo together, it was all smiles. I know you guys go way back further than just this competition. So tell me a little bit about that competition, sir.
Yeah, like we were rowing together, cutting weight the day before. You know, like we're like he's my teammate. He's one of my close friends. We ended up in the finals together. The match starts, you know, we're both kind of just feeling each other out, and Mike John does something so not Mike John and goes for like a flying guillotine. Which guillotine, yeah, you expect that from Mike. But like a flying submission from Mike John, like I've never seen him do anything. I've never seen him jump. I've never seen this man leave the ground in my life.
To be fair, I see nothing but jumping guillotines at me when we are rolling. So I've seen him do it no less than 9 million times. And my favorite note to him is always, Mike, literally choose any submission other than that, and maybe you'll catch me faster.
I've personally never seen him jumping guillotine, but I guess that just shows how shitty of a friend I am.
Well, I think the golden goose is my giant head for him. So he's just trying to jump up and do it and get something that he could put up on a mantle. And the weird part is, because I've seen him do it a couple times, you know, we'll do some like wrestling drills and I would be like, don't do it. Just don't. No, you're not even supposed to do that right now. And he still like kind of goofs around with it. So go on.
So he gets the jumping guillotine. He locks it in actually pretty deep. I fall to like side control. I fall to like side control to like just try and take some pressure off my neck. He switches to like a Darce type thing, so he shoots his arm through. And at that moment, I'm like, I can try to escape the arm, or I can try to attack the arm. Like it was a moment where it was like, it's 50-50. I can miss this armbar attempt, and he can just sink it in this Darce and finish me, or I can get this armbar and you know, win the match that way. So I ended up getting the armbar. It was a minute match. It was much closer than a minute match would entail. You know what I mean? Because there was a point where it was 1 second too slow on that armbar, and he has me in a deep Darce that he's going to finish me with. You know what I mean? So it was like that samurai scene, you know, where neither of them have shields. They're just going all out and, you know, attacking. They both like stand across from each other, and you just see one of them drop. Where it's like, that's a fast match, but it was close. You know, just the time of the match doesn't show how close that was. So both of us just went all out on attacking, just blitzed each other, and I ended up taking the armbar and getting the tap and getting the win.
Well, congratulations to you on that. Did you guys have a chance to kind of talk after that match?
Yeah. Like he's on my quintet team now, you know, like immediately, like the day after, like, hey, we're doing quintet together. Like, yeah, fuck yeah, we are. You know, so we've talked, like I said, I train with him. He's a good friend of mine.
Yeah, no, Mike is good people. And I was very stoked when I saw that you guys were being on a quintet team. I know that we talked off air, and I was wondering, I was like, when did that get put together? And you're like, well, we started trying to put one together about a month ahead, but now it was really that week. So I go, you literally have a competition with Mike John. And then Andy goes, oh, right. I should finish this now. Yeah, do you guys want to go? It's like, yeah, we already compete against each other. We're good. Yeah. So
like I said off air, fucking Andy texts me a month before, like, hey, let's put a team together. And I'm like, yeah. And then doesn't send me anything for a month. And then 2 days ago goes, hey, we should finish this team. But yeah, let's finish it.
Derrick, I want to ask this, because competing at those stages, again, we mentioned, is not anything new for you. But what does competing this time in the tournament mean? Because, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know if they put you in the tournament perhaps because you were too young at the time. Or if they've been waiting for you to sharpen yourself and get there, but now you're there and you earned it. What does that mean to you for the ability to get into this tournament now?
Yeah, well, I'm not in the tournament. I'm the alternate PJ Barch.
Oh, right. I forgot about that.
Yeah. Well, the last year it wasn't an age thing. It was Ruben Rivera beat me. You know, Ruben Rivera beat me the spot last year, and he went on there. So I'm just the alternate this year. PJ Barch and Nathan Orchard definitely deserve the spot. Like they are, you know, PJ Barch went to ADCC for us. Like he's our guy. Nathan Orchard went to the finals in the welterweights. I believe last year, if I'm not mistaken. So they definitely deserve the spots. I'm just some punk ass kid, but I'm excited to have my match. We're gonna do a super match. I'm not exactly sure against who yet. Um, so it's gonna be fun either way. I definitely feel now that I'm like 19, like not that I'm a grown like adult, but I definitely feel like there's a little bit more pressure than he's just able to qualify by 2 weeks. He just turned 18. I feel it's a little bit different for me, but it's gonna be fun either way. I enjoy combat jiu-jitsu. I feel like it's one of my better styles. Casey Halstead has this big like MMA background in coaching. And so you pick up a lot of like MMA type positions in jiu-jitsu when you train with them, and it really shows in the combat matches.
Yeah, I remember laughing because you had just turned 18 and I thought, did they sneak him under the wire on this? Like, did they have to, pretend like he's 18? It's like, no, he's not 18. So I was just like, oh man, he really is. He's really grown before our eyes here. So let's talk about this. I always wanted to go back and do a profile because the last time we talked a little bit about that day when you compete all the way back at one of the EBIs. That's how far it is. I contacted and interviewed you at an EBI. People don't even remember or know what that is now. So let's go back. What was the first day you remember in jiu-jitsu? Because you've been doing it for 11 years now. That would have made you what, all of 8?
I was just about to turn 8. Like it was like the month of my 8th birthday. The first day in jiu-jitsu that I remember was my first day just learning. Like I was in the gi. It was a karate school, I think it was, called MAI, like Martial Arts International or something. Now it's an auto parts store. Like I drive by it on the street in Corona. So I'm like, oh, that's my gym. That auto parts. So yeah, just basic like kid stuff, like learning how to shrimp, putting on the gi, and like thinking I'm all cool, like, oh, I'm a little ninja. Like just kid stuff like that. It does kind of like, I think back on it, and like nowadays, like I've been doing it 11 years. I see people messing up shrimps, and I'm just like, what are you doing? And I have to remember, like, okay, I've been doing it 11 years. Like when I was a stupid ass kid, I didn't know how to do that. So it definitely does have I have a different perspective on jiu-jitsu just because it's ingrained in me, opposed to like having a life and then doing jiu-jitsu after the fact, as like a hobby.
When did jiu-jitsu become yours? Because at a certain point, sometimes the parents, they're like, hey, go out there and do it. And then it becomes something that you're doing just because other people are suggesting that you do it. When does jiu-jitsu become the sport or the art that you go, yeah, this belongs to me?
I've almost always felt like that. Like, since day one, like, hey, Derrick, do you want to do it? And I was the one going, yes, I want to do that. That sounds so cool. So it's always been like my choice. Like if jiu-jitsu ever becomes not my choice, I don't think it will be fun anymore. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So that's also a balance that I've tried to make with me 11 years later. Like, okay, training every day is something that keeps going, but it's not like, sometimes it feels like you have to do it. And that's when I have to like kind of step away and like, I'll take a week off and I'll be like, no, okay. I have to remember that I love doing it every day. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not a thing that I have to do. I do it because I choose to do it.
Having said that, if it has always been yours, I always ask people this: when did you fall in love with jiu-jitsu?
I would say I probably fell in love like straight away. Like like I said, I went in day one and I was like, I'm a ninja. This is awesome. It's just something that like was drawn to me. Or I was drawn to rather. It's just something that I feel really good doing, and it's something that I like. I love it. I love jiu-jitsu.
What do you feel has adapted the most? Because again, I feel like your game has grown a lot and that you also have matured. But what do you feel that has grown the most, and where do you think that breakthrough might have come from?
Definitely my biceps.
No.
But
we're losing the feed here, kids. Sorry. Here's a nice moment that we want to take for everybody to go ahead and get their wits about them. Yes, I apologize for the guests. Let's bring them back in. All right, go on.
what's grown the most, I would say, is my top control. Because even since I was a little kid, I was always been flexible. I was always trying to put my feet in like weird type of guard positions, and that's just gotten better as time goes on. But I've never really had a top game up until this last year and a half. And I'm not saying it's like the best. Like I'm not saying my top game's like, oh my god, look at Derrick in his top game. But it's definitely something where like I can get on top and I can, get those head and arm chokes. I can get to mount. I can do, guillotine passes on high level guys. You know what I mean? So that's definitely like been the biggest adaptation for my game. I would say it's just getting past the guard, learning how to like smash, and learning how to really control guys from the top position.
I was also very interested at what point you decided to implement a little bit more wrestling. How did that come about?
I've been wrestling in high school for like 4 years. I would say my junior years when I really started to like amp it up, because that's when I stopped training jiu-jitsu to get better at wrestling. When I was like, okay, I have a wrestling season to focus on. I'll do jiu-jitsu every now and then. I'll keep it sharp, but let's just grind wrestling. And when I started doing that, when I got back on the mats, it was like, well, these tools didn't go away. I'm still like a good wrestler, so I can use that while I'm using like all my funky stuff in jiu-jitsu.
Did you find yourself enthralled more with wrestling? Because I know when you take that time off, it's sort of like hey, I'm going to get better at gi, so I really want to take the time off to go get better at gi, and I'm not going to do as much no gi. I would assume that same thing was happening with wrestling, but that's more mental focus. Did you find something to appreciate in wrestling? And if so, what was that?
Did I find something to focus on in that? Wrestling has always been tough for me, just because even when I was wrestling, I wasn't learning like traditional wrestling. Like it was always like, get on top and use your jiu-jitsu, Derrick. Just use your jiu-jitsu. Once you get on top, once you get the back, it's because that's what all I did was I would just grab chokes. I would just use jiu-jitsu. And it's something that a lot of jiu-jitsu guys don't do. Like young jiu-jitsu guys, when they wrestle, they think they have to like traditionally wrestle. And that's not something I started to do until my senior year, when I was like, okay, I should probably learn the sport of wrestling a little bit. You know what I mean? So I don't even remember the question, but I agree.
Okay. Well, that's
I kind of on my own.
I don't think that's a yes/no question, but okay.
What was the question?
It was, what did you learn, or what was it that you were finding that helped to define what it was? Because some people do wrestling, and here's what I can tell you. When you're competitive, some people just get so inherently competitive that they say, I'm just going to focus in on this.
Yeah.
And especially jiu-jitsu guys, they don't learn the craft.
Yeah.
I was curious because I didn't have that background as somebody who did wrestling in high school. Did you find something that became a certain kind of appreciation or love, much in the same way you did for jiu-jitsu?
Yeah, I mean, wrestling, like, you do grow a love for it. Like, there are times where I put on that singlet, I'm just like, oh yeah, like, oh, this is my stuff. This is my shit. I love this singlet. Yeah, like, wrestling is so much different than jiu-jitsu, just in the mentality. I would say the mentality is the biggest thing in wrestling that doesn't translate to jiu-jitsu. It's in jiu-jitsu, you get like pressure, and you're like, okay, I'll give you that position, but I'm going to transition and do something else. In wrestling, you have to be like, no, F you. This is my position. I'm going to be bigger and I'm going to be stronger than you, and I'm going to push you. You know what I mean? It's almost like, have you watched Avatar?
A little bit, yeah.
Between like earth bending and water bending is how I would describe it. Where water bending is all about, flowing through and using momentum and flowing. And earth bending is, I'm going to stand my ground. I'm going to push you, and you're not going to be able to push me.
That's fascinating. That is a metaphor that's going to go over with our anime crowd, which surprisingly is sizable. I can't hang with as many of those people. Yeah, these dumb nerds with their avatar and their loving of it and thinking it evolves everything. The reason why I find it so fascinating for you, though, is that you're right. It does create that pace. Even just training today, I had somebody who took me down, and I complimented him. I was like, hey, man, that was a really good takedown. And he looked at me and he's like, well, you still submitted me. And I was like, yes, but I wanted to compliment you on the takedown before I beat the shit out of you, because that was also very impressive. Could I live with that if I was just a wrestler? Probably not. I probably would have been really pissed at my. I could have submitted him probably 5 times. I'd be like, he took me down. Fuck him. You know, like, it's a different mentality. And I think it's just something I'm ingrained to have as, okay, here it's coming. I'm going to brace for it. I'm going to build the takedown into my natural chain of places that I like to go. So for me, I just wanted to make sure I was like, hey, man, I don't ever like people walking away from this sport thinking they should feel defeated if they got a takedown. It's like, you still did something really impressive, and it's very hard to do. But, you know, we'll clean that up. I was like, I'll tell you how to, you know, make something work there. But
we'll get you actually good at jiu-jitsu as well.
Well, you know, I mean, here's the one part is I was telling him, I was like, he was complimenting me, and I go, hey, man, well, you had a good takedown. He was like, I know. And I go, it wasn't that good. Be humble here, kid, because I will remind you very quickly after you got the takedown, I found my way into a sweep. So, you know, nobody really
probably could have been better.
I just love the fact that when he was telling me that, he's like, I know. I was like, who says that? Shut up, kid.
Man.
But I do find it interesting because I'm looking at the progression of where you've come, where you've been at the age of just now 19. I guess the inherent thing is, what are you looking to do? So what is on your kind of mentality of where you would like to go? Obviously, we know the short term is going to be competing at the end of the month. But, like, where do you see yourself progressing? Do you see yourself still continuing to do more wrestling? I mean, obviously, you're going to have those opportunities with people like Andy, who movement is going to just go wherever it goes whenever you train with that guy. And by the way, fuck you both, because I saw that video that he just put up recently where you do a flip out of it, and I go, listen, I should just retire from jiu-jitsu here right then and there if we're starting to do that shit.
I wouldn't try and do that in a real match for sure. We got to the end of training one day and we were like, let's just do some stupid shit and make like a cool flow out of it. And so we were sitting there like, what are we gonna do? And I was like, single leg me, Andy. Check this out. I just backflipped out of it. Dude, we did like 30 takes and he kept messing up like the Eminari roll like after it. And so I was like, God damn it, Andy. I have to do so many backflips because you keep messing up the goddamn Eminari roll.
Well,
so that final take, I was kind of dizzy, to be honest. I was like, damn, I've been doing a lot of these.
It looked pretty good still, so I think the compliments still go your way. But yeah, let's get back to the question, which is, what are you looking to do? Like, where do you see yourself going, and what are the next kind of things that you kind of want to climb mountain-wise?
I would like to be like at the tournaments. You know what I mean? Like I qualified for the special match. That's cool and all. I would like to eventually in the next year, you know, be the guy invited to the tournaments, you know, like be the guy actually in them. You know, I see Submission Underground refuses to give me a match. I text them like, hey guys, I swear I'm good. And they just, get out of here, kid. So, you know, I just want to do bigger, high level matches, you know, more consistently if I can. Eventually I would like to get into MMA. I have a little bit of a striking background. I'm not great at it, but I can get better. So, like long term, I would like to fight. I'd like to get these high level jiu-jitsu matches. I would like to compete in like these big stages as the you know, in the actual tournament, not just like a little extra thing. You know what I mean? So that's where I want to be in the next coming years.
Here's maybe something that I think you were saying that maybe I can put an old person's perspective to, which is that you were mentioning how you're the alternate to PJ Barch and Nate Orchard. But I want you to hear the way I say that, which is you're the alternate to PJ Barch and Nate Orchard. So really, that's good company to be in, one.
Yeah.
Two, they're not going to be doing it forever at this level. So you are the future. And to be in that group and to be that consideration and to have that kind of confidence from your team that you will be a good flag bearer for them should they need to replace them has to feel good. So to me, when I hear you say that, I'm like, yeah, I get it. To not be in the dance is a little bit of a sting, but we've seen crazier things happen in these tournaments where I know you've run them. I know you've helped out in the background of places where you've seen the same things that I have, where someone just doesn't show up one day and you go, how can you do that? And then someone gets plugged into the tournament. We've seen it happen many a time. So
I believe that's where Gordon Ryan got his start. Way back in EBI, what was it, 7, 6?
I think it was around 6. Yeah, I just remembered, his thing when he was a replacement, and you look over, Keith was a replacement at one point, and he got his platform. Like, stranger things happen. So it's just kind of cool to know that if they did plug you in, you're somebody with that experience who could easily find themselves in there. I love the idea that you want to go MMA. And I have to say, given all of your years of combat training, acumen, the team that you train with, it seems a natural progression. And I don't even want to ask you for a date because I know that Casey's smart enough to already have that in his head somewhere ready to go.
For sure. Yeah. Right now, it's just, especially with COVID right now, I'm just doing jiu-jitsu at the moment. Right now, like the next year or so, like that's all I see in my year future. Like I just want to get as good as I can in these high-level competitions at the moment.
I think it's also absurd. I do want to interrupt you here because I do think it is absurd that Submission Underground doesn't have you on the radar. And maybe it's a problem of them having too many 10th Planet people to put on that they don't know how to weed them out. But like, you're somebody who does produce very, very good highlights. And more importantly, these dummies are always complaining that they're just butt scooting. So maybe if you pinky swear them that you'll keep the standing up for a little while, maybe they might be more intrigued on that end too.
Let them know that I can wrestle.
Listen, I've seen some of these guys push their heads back and forth in main events on that. And, just saying, we could stand to have some guys who can wrestle. I think Uncle Chael would appreciate that at some point. So that's my plug for you. I think we should put you on that. And I would say, I think you are now at a place in your jiu-jitsu journey, please tell me if I'm wrong, where you just want those samurai challenges. You want to put yourself out there. And if we are in a COVID world where things are crazy, that if there are the opportunities, you want to be at the front of the line. And I think there's nothing wrong with that.
I think I've kind of always been like, I don't want to sound cocky. Maybe I'm good enough to accept those samurai challenges now, but I've always been, like, you put anyone in front of me at any time in my career and I'm like, okay, we're going to do this, so anytime, anyone, like just give me Uncle Chael, give me a text, oh, you have Gordon Ryan in 3 days. Fuck yeah, let's do it.
And you know what? You would do it. And I mean, that's the whole thing is people forget that's how Gordon Ryan got his shot was he didn't reject them. He just took them. So, you're not going to get another Gordon Ryan. And believe me, we could use another one because this one's defective in the brain. So I would love for us to get some other people in there. And what I do like about you is you've always had a great persona just when no one's watching. Like, I remember seeing videos of you or photos of you trying to stick your leg behind your head and being like, look at this kid, just trying to be flexible. Look at him. Today, even seeing you do backflips for no reason and going, that's not necessary. But you're doing it with a good sense of, hey, guys, this should be fun. Like, when we train, we should train hard. We should have a good sense of humor about ourselves and not take ourselves seriously. And I've always appreciated that about you.
Well, thank you. I believe if we're not having fun doing it, why are we doing it?
Well, you should see some of those rooms that people go in. They don't always get that way. And I have yet to be in a Casey room where he gives the post speech. So I know that day's coming. But I do know that every time I'm in Vegas and Casey sees me train anywhere else, I get a message from him. And I go, what's wrong with you? And he goes, why didn't you stop here? And I go where I'm invited, bro. And he's like, well, you didn't come here. And I go, you sound like a jealous ex-girlfriend, bro. Like, I'll show up, man. So,
yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
let's do this.
he is I will say about Casey, he's a coach that I think it's important to have a coach like him that will keep you accountable, that will like, oh, you're coming to Vegas to party, but you're not training.
I mean, no, I'm pretty clear about going to train. My wife and I, when we go to Vegas, this is how it goes. I dedicate that normal like 6 to 12 in the morning, to the afternoon, to my time to train. I come home and shower and I go, I'm all yours for the rest of the day. So that's why, I had my time with Doel. I would go visit Mike. I would make a drop in. And I swear to God, there was just one time where he saw me. He's like, dude, I saw you at this other gym. I wasn't feeling it. And I was like, I'm training. He's like, you're not training here. And I go, fine.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't saying you specifically, but I'm more referring to like Orange County guys that will go out there and he'll be like, hey, so you have a good time last night? Sorry, Casey, I'm sorry.
I mean, that's a danger. That's between all the 4 different stops that y'all have as a nice unified team. That's a lot of people to take account of. And I got to tell a lot of these kids who are coming in to train for the first time, that man sees what happens on social media, so he's not blind. So, he keeps you accountable like a good coach should. I want to ask you this, man. I want to ask you, do you have any sponsors, people you want to shout out, people who you want to say thank you for helping you get sharpened up for your win at Combat Jiu Jitsu qualifier, sir?
I do not have any sponsors. I will shout out Go Grappling, a new streaming service for people who just want to put their techniques out there and, get paid for them. It's like a streaming service where you can really, like, if you're a high level guy, it's just now starting up. I'm more just shouting it out because my friend runs it. But I actually do believe in it. I think Go Grappling could be like a very big opportunity for a lot of people. Like, with that being said, I'm not sponsored. But I will shout out like my coach Casey, Andy Ballmore, 10 Planet Fullerton, 10th Planet Las Vegas, Eddie Bravo for continuing to give me these opportunities to do the trials, and shout out to all my teammates. There's too many people. The problem with me is there's too many people that have influenced me to where I can't shout out everyone. But to all my teammates, all the 10th Planet family, I love the support. I love you guys. I appreciate it.
That's very nice. And Derrick, like I said, man, I know that you took some time off to do wrestling, and I knew when you'd come back, you'd have some new weapons in your arsenal. And I'm so happy and proud of you because when you do the interviews with the kids, you don't know how it's going to turn out. You think to yourself, he's got a good head on his shoulders. I hope things continue to go well. So it is a very nice little moment for me to be able to continue doing interviews like this with you and see like, yeah, man, you've been keeping your head on straight and you've been really, really dedicated to your training. So you keep this up. I will keep interviewing you, but such good things thus far in what is already a promising career. So very proud of you, man.
Thank you. I appreciate you, brother. I really appreciate like stuff like this.
Awesome. All right. I'm going to kick you off. I'll say bye to you off air, but I want to tell you guys right now, just as a reminder, give us a like, a subscribe, a follow at Grappling Hour, all the major platforms. If you really love us, go to at Grappling Hour and give us a 5-star review on our Apple Podcasts. And you can also find us on Spotify. So yes, at Grappling Hour, YouTube, Facebook, Periscope, Twitch, Twitter, and Instagram. Give us some love, give us some follows, give us some subscribes. We're going to have a new episode of Verbal Tap sooner than later. I don't know. Kevin's still kind of he just got married, limbo land. So I'm going to let him live for a little bit and then we'll regroup and do that. But we will have another fight companion on this week at some point. I don't know when it's going up. So look out for that. My thanks to you guys for watching. It's been a great day for grappling. We'll see you back on the mats eventually.